Hello everyone, today I'll be going over the Blackmar Gambit, and I really recently started playing this and enjoying this gambit because for one, you can reach the position with d4 and e4, and also it's very aggressive and sometimes your opponent doesn't really know how to respond. Before I get into the gambit, I wanted to mention that I do have a little question that I'm wondering for you guys to answer, which is, what is your favorite gambit? So make sure you guys leave that question in the comments below and then come back for this gambit. And like I said, this gambit you can reach with both d4 and e4, which is very rare for a gambit. Usually e4 and d4 are completely separate moves that lead to completely separate positions. But this time you can actually reach this gambit both as a d4 and an e4 player, which means that almost every player should know this gambit. So let's start with the d4 variation, which is d4, d5, and e4. And this is now the gambit. But if you also play e4, then you can go ahead and e4, d5, which is the Scandinavian defense, and then d4. So, same position. First e4 or first d4, both can lead you to this position. Now black is going to take usually. Otherwise, you just have two center pawns for black's one, and so black usually doesn't want that and will take. Now you go ahead and move out your knight, as you're attacking the pawn, black's going to go ahead and defend the pawn, in which case you go ahead and play f3. Now you're giving away another pawn, but don't worry, this time you're going to capture it. So you have two choices, either capture with the knight or the queen. I'm going to be going over both choices. First, let's go over the knight, which is the less aggressive but very safe opening for you. So if you capture, your opponent has two options. First, let's go over the option that your opponent plays this move here, which is less common, but actually it's one of the engine's best picks. So if your opponent if you do encounter this, this is going to be the one time where you castle kingside. In almost every variation that you start with this gambit, you go ahead and castle queenside. But this variation, you castle kingside by playing this move here. You're less worried about this knight capturing here, even though they do have two attackers. You have enough defenders, so you're less worried about that, but you're more worried, or not worried, but you're more preparing to castle, so you're taking away another minor piece. Now, it doesn't matter what black plays, unless it's this, but it doesn't matter what black plays. Let's say black plays this to fianchetto the bishop. You can go ahead and castle, and this is very reasonable position. You haven't given away, too much material for your position. Now let's go ahead and look back if black instead plays this move here, pinning your knight, which is the second common move, or the first most common move, but the second move that I'll be going over in this variation. In which case you go ahead and play h3. Black usually backs the bishop out because usually black doesn't want to trade away a bishop for a knight so early in the game. You go ahead and play g4, very aggressive, but notice that although you're changing, you're not changing, but you're extending these pawns very far, you're not going to castle kingside, you're going to castle queenside. So it won't matter much that these pawns aren't, necessarily, protecting the king, if the king was here. So now your opponent plays this move, and you just have a couple of options. You can play this move. I recommend playing either this or this and preparing to castle a bit quicker. But you can even play a move like this if you want to play a little bit more aggressive, and you can, put more pressure on the bishop. Now let's go ahead and look at the last variation that I'll mention, which is if you capture with the queen. And this looks a little silly at first. You give away another pawn, but it does come with a little idea, which is bishop over here to e3. Notice how you're now prepared to castle. So if your opponent plays this move, which is the engine's best move, you can castle. And if your opponent takes, then you take back. You have three minor pieces in the center, and black, doesn't have much, only one minor piece. And although you're missing a couple of crucial pawns, these minor pieces control a ton. And also this nice D file is open for you, and so very, very good position. Now you can also go ahead, if black decides to do anything else, you can just develop normally. Take out your bishop, maybe improve the position of your king, maybe play this move, maybe play this move if you want to push the queen either back or to capture. But like I said, very reasonable position, and you've given a couple of pawns and material, but you have a lot for it. So I really enjoy this aggressive opening. Make sure also, if you did enjoy this video, then you guys subscribe to this channel. I post chess videos every single day. It could be a gambit, it could be a trap, it could be an opening, it could be a puzzle. And for the most part, I like to also do what you guys recommend. So leave recommendations in the comments below. Once again, if you guys do have your favorite gambit in your mind, then make sure you guys leave it in the comments below, because I want to know what are the top picks for gambits that you guys enjoy. Other than that, I'll see you guys in the next video. Bye.